Hello everybody and welcome to a video on the Heezy Game Media YouTube channel. I'm Heezy, and today I'm really excited because we get to talk about a game that I've been trying to finish for a long time. I finished it earlier last year, and I've been waiting to do this review once I have the time to write down my thoughts and really talk about Mass Effect 1. So I have another retro review. It's probably my most popular review on YouTube. So go check it out. It's on Zoid's Legacy. Zoid's is a great franchise, and that game is a very fun RPG. If you love RPGs and want something, pretty fun and enjoyable, I highly recommend that one. And check out the video if you kind of want to hear more about it. This is going to be kind of my second real retro review, and I want to preface this by saying that I didn't own like an Xbox 360 growing up, which is why I never played this one. This is actually my reaction to my first playthrough of Mass Effect. I'm not like a Mass Effect expert. Like, this is me reviewing Mass Effect as somebody now trying some of these Xbox 360 games that I didn't get to play because I had a Wii. When I was younger, and I didn't get an Xbox 360 until I was much older, and I prioritized kind of other things over Mass Effect. So like I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I played all of those games. And speaking of my love for Star Wars, the reason that I was interested in Mass Effect is because of KOTOR. BioWare is probably just one of my favorite companies now, just through playing these games. And, you know, so Knights of the Old Republic is an amazing, amazing game. It is easily my favorite game of all time. And, it's the company, BioWare, that makes this game. And I have always said that like KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, is a great game without Star Wars. It has an amazing story. Its replayability is off the charts, and part of that has to do with this style of game. KOTOR has the ability to, you can go down different class systems. When you go down different class systems, you learn different things. Plus, you have different story elements that impact how your powers are used. Like, it's just very in depth, and the replayability, if you want to try everything, just goes through the roof with those style of games. And the story changes when you make decisions, and that is the thing that I was most excited to experience in Mass Effect. I was actually told to skip the first Mass Effect for what it's worth. I wanted to play the entire series, though. My love for KOTOR made me want to love this series that way and experience that same kind of experience again. And I was really afraid that if I played 2 before I played 1, I would just not play 1 and enjoy it at all, just because of things that might change due to the quality of life upgrades that are needed and changes like that happen between games and between sequels. I mean, if you look at KOTOR 1 versus 2, for example, you go from being able to switch weapons to not being able to switch weapons to having to go into the menu a bunch of times. There's so many little things that were done. I didn't want to have that experience where I play Mass Effect 2 and 3, and when I go back to play 1, it's like, well, this is stupid. I don't enjoy this. So it was really important to me that even though people said, you don't even need to play it, 2's just the best game ever, go play that, I wanted to experience this. And I'm really glad I did, because I loved the game. I had a rocky start, but I think it gets good very quickly. I think that the original story and the twists and all the things that go along with it were very compelling. And we'll get into that, but I felt like if I were to describe this story, compelling is what I would use, and it's definitely worth the experience if you haven't played it, or if you haven't played it in a long time, to kind of revisit it and maybe try playing the game in a new way. There was actually a specific part in the game when I text my friends that are super into Mass Effect, and I was like, this is it. This is what I've been wanting from this game the whole time. The story is now so interesting, and I'm so captured. And I think my text said something along the lines of, holy crap, this story just got so good. And that's, what more do you want? I think that so often, when you look at competitive gaming, which is something that, I'm into, that's not the thing that we look for in that. But when we play this style of game, right, that's what you're looking for. You're looking to be captured into this universe and be a part of it. And I think that this game does a really good job about that. And I cared about the things that were happening and how things worked, and also how things were impacting humanity in this game. Because, you have some amazing characters. You're this human that's trying to bring humanity's position up in the world. And I want to talk about just my favorite characters in the game, because Commander Shepard is my favorite character. You're able to play Shepard in a way that I really resonated with. That I don't know that's always true in these style of games. Sometimes you're like, I don't like any of these choices. I wouldn't do any of this. I wish there was a different choice. I didn't have that happen very often playing Commander Shepard. I very much felt like I could play as though I would play, and it made me resonate with Shepard a lot more. Uh, I think that this might just be because it's my first playthrough, and so maybe it's just a symptom of that. But I really, really enjoyed Shepard's decision making, the way that he communicated when you made the decisions that you made. I don't know. I really resonated with him in a way that, I certainly is not true of the exile in Knights of the Old Republic Sith Lords. Like I think that you really get to see if you connect to Shepard, and if you do, the game is really enjoyable, and I found myself having that. My other favorite characters are Saturn. I actually think Saturn's a great villain. One of the things that really interests me in villains is whether or not what their motivations are. So the two type of motivations that I'm usually like in villains is one, they they believe what they're doing is right. There's actually three. One, they believe what they're doing is the right thing to do, and they're misguided. Two, that they don't think that they have a choice in this, and they have to do this in order to survive. And I actually think that both of those things are true for Saren, which is interesting. Um, the third that I really like in a villain is confidence and it's not about motivations as much. Like if you look at the villain in something like Mission Impossible 3, played by Richard Seymour Hoffman. That's not the right name, is it? Nope. By Philip Seymour Hoffman. You really get this character that doesn't care. They know that they're bad, But on the flip side, when you look at a villain like, which is by the way, I think one of the best villains of all time. On the flip side, if you look at something along the lines of Mysterio from Spider-Man, or the villain in Live Free Die Hard, these are people that feel like they were wronged and are trying to make the world right through the fact that they believe that they were wronged. And that's also a characteristic that is interesting in villains, but that isn't the villain that we have here with Saren. What we have with Saren is somebody that legitimately believes that what they're doing is the right thing to do, which is true of we talked about the villain in Live Free Die Hard, but also is that like doesn't think that there's another way. And part of that has to do with what happens to him in the story. But it's a compelling villain, and one that I found pretty interesting. And then lastly, Joker, I think is a pretty sympathetic character. Really enjoyed his story, and yeah, I think that if you're going to look for characters to kind of try and learn more about as you get into this game, if you're trying it for the first time, those are three that I think are pretty sweet. To kind of think about these characters in an interesting way. I will say too that this game took me a couple years to play. I had a lot of things come up in my life in that time playing this game, so I played this game in bursts, and then had to take a break and then play it in bursts again. So it took me quite a while to do it, but I'm really glad that I did. I'm really glad that I persisted through both the annoying parts of the game that I think happen sometimes pretty early on, as well as just continuing to make sure that I finished this game, because I think it was definitely worth it. I really, really enjoyed my time playing this game when I was done. Like it was just out of this world fun, and even if you can only play this game for an hour or so every week or so, I think it's still definitely one that's worth it. I do wish that I understood some things better. Equipment settings is something that I didn't realize you can upgrade weapons in this game just like you can in a lot of other RPGs. But I didn't quite understand what things did, and I didn't think the game did a good job of explaining that. So I would actually recommend researching that a little bit as you get into this game. Just do a little bit of research on, weapon setups and things like that. It actually makes the game a lot easier. I didn't even realize I could get to the menu to upgrade my weapons until pretty late in the game, which kind of sucked. I wish that was something that I had done better. Even though I had components, I didn't know where to go. And when I could have easily Googled it, but I didn't realize. I thought that like there would be like a workbench, if that makes sense, because that's the way that it works in KOTOR. Maybe that's because I came in with the KOTOR thing, but just so you know, you don't need a workbench. You can just do it directly within the menu. Anyway, that's something that I wish that I had known going in. But I also think that this game really helped me get better at different parts of gaming. I'm really bad at first-person shooters, and the style of combat that this game has is extremely different than something like KOTOR or, turn-based RPGs that I play a lot of. And honestly, like, the only live combat RPGs that I've played are, I have a lightsaber in my hand, right? Um, even stuff like Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, I typically didn't use the guns because I was so bad with them. And this game really forced me to fix that. And I think that I will probably play more games with, more shooter style games because of this game. And I really like that about this game, that it let me broaden and improve myself as a gamer. Some of the things I didn't like, I said we mentioned this earlier. Um, so let's talk about the Mako tank. This thing is super clunky. It is not fun to use. Towards later in the game, I actually just found myself driving away. Like, if you didn't need to kill anything to get through the level, and you could just drive straight through with a tank, I would just do that. Because it was easier than fighting. Like, that's how both bad I was with the tank and how clunky the tank felt. Because even when you were winning and doing good things with the tank, it was not fun. Like, it just wasn't interesting gameplay, and I really did not enjoy it. I think that the mechanics of the driving felt bad and clunky. The gun felt bad and clunky. The shield mechanics were kind of stupid. The repair mechanics were clunky. Like, everything felt bad. Honestly, it is like the only, like, if I had one criticism, it is that the Mako tank part of the game legitimately sucked. Um, and then the other thing is, and this is a little bit of a me problem, a little bit of the game problem, and I'm sure the quality of life upgrades change this. The minimap was a little bit confusing at times. Um, so I mean, the minimap definitely was just useless. I don't know why you just don't have the map on the minimap. I don't know. I hated that. But then you'd have to go back to the map, look at stuff, then go back to the minimap. If there's a way to change this, and I'm crazy, please leave a comment for people so people know how to do this, because I hated the minimap because all it showed you was enemies, and I just wanted to be able to see where things were. Like, I would get a little bit lost trying to adjust from the map to the minimap at times. I don't know. I just thought it was a bad system. There was one time where the wall was the same color as the wall behind it, so I couldn't tell there was a door there. And so what I would do is I would, like, try and find it, go into the room, and, like, it's not here. Maybe it's below, because there's, like, sometimes there's levels, right, where unless you or not levels, but there's, like, platforms and stuff. So sometimes you think that you're on one level, and then if you go even higher, it changes the map. But it only changes the map when you go, like, high enough and it has to load, I think. Anyway, that's a critique that maybe I'm stupid, but I found confusing. Outside of that, though, those are really my only complaints. I thought the story was great. It started a little slow, but I think that it built up and you got to see character development. It was important to do the character development stuff early on in the game, because the story is a little more less interesting to start the game, because by the time the story gets really good, you have less character development that you need to do. So one thing that you'll want to do is, do that character development, learn about these people that you're adding to your team, and that you're having these interactions with. It certainly makes the game a lot more interesting. The other thing I would say is that there's a lot of side quests, and they're certainly fun, and you should do them. I think that makes the game more enjoyable. I think the game probably gets less enjoyable if you just rush through it. I think that this is one of those games that you want to be a part of and have that exploration. And because of all of that, and because of the things that I really love about this game is easily, top 100 games of all time, and probably top 20 games all time for me. I legitimately loved it, and I'm really excited for the second one. It's one that I think that I'm really going to enjoy, and I'm excited to see the quality of life upgrades that this gets. But if you have not played Mass Effect, you should do it. It's a good one. Well, thank you everybody so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and I'll talk to everybody next week with a new video. I've been a little bit sick, but I'm feeling better, and I'm excited to get to talk to everybody about these style of things. I've got some other retro reviews coming up, as well as some normal kind of stuff that we can do on this channel. And then the podcast will be coming back this summer, so go follow Need to Nerd on Twitter. Really excited about that one. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys all next week. What are you doing? How come you 111? Bye everyone!